We have a very esteemed panel with us, and I'll just run through the names and what they bring to this discussion. Online, we have Professor Neville Ying, Professor of Education, Measurement, and at the Micro University College. Of course, he's also the former Executive Director of the Jamaica Diaspora Institute. We have Mr. Maurice Wilson, Principal of GC Foster College. Immediately to my left, then we have Carol Beckford is that orange? Are you going to tell me it's a different color, Carol? We have Chester McCarthy, who is the Athletic Director here at GC Foster College. And we have as well Erwin Clear, CEO, Team Jamaica Bickle, and of course, Managing Director with the Caribbean Immigrant Services. We'll be focusing our discussion now on partnerships for sustainable development in sport. And I want to give each member a minute to just set the stage on the overall discussion point before we get into details. Maurice, we'll start with you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me instantly speak to the importance of collaboration. There's a great example to my left. In 2011, I think it was, there was a discussion with Erwin Clear about giving a scholarship to a Jamaican athlete. About 12 years later, that athlete is a gold medalist at the Commonwealth Championships, silver medalist, Royal University champion, the fourth fastest Jamaican, Pan American record holder. He broke Donald Quarry's record over 20 years. He's also an Olympic gold medalist, Olympic finalist. His name is Rashid Dwyer. So that's a great example of an excellent collaboration. Collaboration can be in the form of equipment. Thank you. And for those athletes who are here, for those students, collaboration can be in the form of equipment, facilities, and human resource. And your institution can collaborate with other institutions of strength to gain the benefits of collaboration. Quickly, I want to speak to win-win partnership. All right, so I'm put on hold.
I put a call on here. Carol, of course, Carol Beckford is a sports marketer, former CEO, president of the business of sport. Carol, broadly on the issue.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I mean, Maurice, I think another great that we have been involved in. Another great partnership that GC Foster was involved in. 12 years ago, we started a discussion with Australia, and it remains one of the long-standing partnerships we have had, where 16 youngsters who were aspiring to be on their World Athletics Championship team came to Jamaica for a month, I believe, and experienced training with Asafa, training with Hussein, and they were based here. They even went to Rebel Salute. And how many years later, they're still talking about their experience in Jamaica. One of them found their grandfather here, realizing he had Jamaican roots. And the importance of collaboration as an academic institution is that sport touches everybody across the board. So with that, it has to be a sustainable relationship. It has to have continuity. And we're at the right place. I mean, I salute GC Foster on the continuous work 44 years later, and still one of the long-standing anchors of sport in Jamaica.
Thank you, Carol. Good afternoon, everyone. Now, for me, as the athletic director here at the GC Foster College, when we talk about sustainable partnerships, then right away I start thinking scholarships, because here at the GC Foster, we we donate over $10 million in scholarships annually to our students. And for the most part, those monies comes from our coffers or events that we will put on here at the college. And we can speak to entities like Team Jamaica Bickle, that from time to time we will get a drawdown from Team Jamaica Bickle when we go to the pen relays. So, you know, these are the partnerships we look to and we try to maintain over the years to assist us as we do the build out here and work with our students to make them better.
We now have Erwin Clear. Of course, the CEO of Team Jamaica Bickle, an entity that has done so much for Jamaican athletes going, close to 30 years, Erwin?
30 years.
Talk to us broadly on the issue of partnerships for sustainable development in sport.
I will start from the whole aspect of sustainability, partnerships, collaboration. Institutions like these normally, and still so it is in, especially in Jamaican parlance, are considered in the economic term a cost center, meaning that it seeks funding to operate. I think we are at the cusp right now where we have an opportunity for a paradigm shift to what is called a profit center. When you look at institutions, sports institutions in the United States, and that includes universities and colleges, they are profit centers. Sports pays. You understand what I'm saying? Sports pays. I think that the whole concept, the philosophy as to how we view ourselves has to be from the standpoint where it's a business, which comes back around to my dear friend here who is dressed in red on the stage, the business of sports. Because if we are to have sustainability, we must know how what we want is going to be paid for without putting our hands out with an expectation from government or anybody else. But we must have a plan in place for sustainability. Sustainability caused by collaboration and building partnerships outside of our sphere. Because remember, GC Foster College is a brand. And when you have a brand of this sort that has shown success over the years, we must now become creative in putting it out on the market space. So from me, it's about the mindset as how we convert to us becoming a profit center. Because this place here are the home, or is the home to world beaters and a significant global brand presence.
Thank you, Erwin. Online we have Professor Neville Ying with the educational, he is with educational measurement at Michael University College. You hearing us, Professor Ying?
Can you hear me?
Hearing you, sir. You can give us in a minute your general thoughts on partnerships for sustainable development in sport.
Well, what I'm looking at, are you ready to hear me? Can I go ahead with my views? Hello? Are you hearing me?
You clearly, Professor.
Are you hearing me? Hello? I'm not sure if you're hearing me.
All right, while you try to work out the logistics.
I'm speaking, but I wonder if you're hearing me.
Changes to this because you have GC Foster College, you've had partnerships, MOUs with other sporting associations and universities. How important is that to ensure that those are maintained and more partnerships are sought after?
Well, we talk about stakeholder engagement. We have started that. We have thrown down the gauntlet to all the sports administrators, the coaches, the trainers, because we have said that we are going to invest in a symposium that can provide all the information that you need to assist you in having a mindset change. Erwin spoke about the business of sport. It requires a mindset change. There are students in the audience that they are told that engaging in sports, it's leisure time. But engaging in sports, it's a step in creating a career path. And we are still at that point where we have not recognized this. When you look at some of the top sports stars, and I'm not going to be biased, when Messi makes $1 million, $1 million US dollars a year from Nike, that has nothing to do with his payment. I need for someone to tell me one academician that makes that amount of money. And at the end of the day, let us face it, money is what is important. Money is what everyone speaks about. Not money at all costs, but you go to school to get an education so you can take care of your family. In order to do that, you make money. So you're at the Mecca, as someone said, where you are being trained as a supporting personnel, similarly to the coaches in the English League, the managers, and you can also develop your skills to become a professional sports person. When we speak of collaboration, we have done numerous collaborations in the last 3-4 years. We have collaborated with universities abroad. We have collaborated with countries. Carol spoke about Australia. We have done so with China. We have done so with Trinidad. We have done so with Maldives. And we can continue on and on. So what I'm saying to students in the audience, administrators, we have started the journey. We have 6 years to go to finalize our dream of that 2030 vision. And GC Foster has thrown down the gauntlet in starting the process.
Carol, you would have formed the business of sport, and that took into consideration stakeholders from all over the world. Delve further into what Coach Wilson has spoken to about the importance of these partnerships.
First of all, you have to look at sport as an industry, and it contributes up to 9% to our GDP. So we have a range of people who are employed in the business on and off the field. And the importance of collaboration looks at all different sides of the business that can prepare and set the pace for the ecosystem. So you have the people who work as a student at GC. You administer the technical side. But then there are people who convert the people off the field into business. And so it is important to understand and to explore those options. Getting your salary as a professional athlete is important, but now in 2024 and beyond, endorsements. Who can you associate your brand with to maximize? Because if you're a runner, you run for 15 years, somewhere 10 to 15. What happens after? So you have to build the program and the relationships that will get you to continue to earn. The life of a doctor, you can work until you're 70. And so how does an athlete earn? So the business of sport is really to explore those opportunities, how you maximize your brand into going further into life. And bearing in mind that you still have to engage the same services, food, transportation, all those things, to ensure that you live a balanced life.
Erwin, I want you to chip in right here, because Team Jamaica Bickle each year plans and support the schools and universities, colleges that compete at Penn Relays coming out of Jamaica and the Caribbean. In terms of those collaborations and partnerships, not only with the Jamaican stakeholders or the athletes and schools, but the different companies that you have to work with from tickets, transportation, meals. Talk us through that.
And I want to add to that to insurance, because last year we started for the first time. And I have to say, This is as a result of a track athlete from Homewood who was injured on the track, severe injury, and it opened our eyes to something else, and that was insurance of our athletes. So what we have in place is when an athlete lands in the United States at the pen, there's an insurance policy for them that covers their injury until the time they leave. All right? Now, these are things that come about not because you plan that is your obligation or your responsibility, but in partnerships and how we collaborate, one of the things that we're led by is that we have to think that there is no box. We hear people speak about thinking outside the box. Well, we think as if there is no box. So therefore, we're exposed to and we have the opportunity to. The question now is, how do we engage that? Corporations have largely been the backbone of our support mechanism. But as time goes by, and we've seen this especially after COVID-19, that many of our legacy partners are fatigued because, you know, people would have seen Team Jamaica Bickle accessing XYZ company, so they are now accessing XYZ company. So we always have to be on the cutting edge of the next level up, finding new ways of bringing external funding into our marketplace. One of the things we had last year, we are very pleased and we're hoping to build on the relationship going further, is that last year we were able to get funding for the first time from a foundation called the Second Round Foundation. And for those of you who follow basketball, and I know my son is somewhere in the audience here because he's a great Knicks fan, but the Knicks point guard, Jalen Brunson, so every time you see him on TV, please support him and send likes out, because his foundation is one of the foundations that is now a supporter of Team Jamaica Bickle. And what that does is not just a matter of them giving us funds, but we're able to place our brand and have our brand in their space, you know? And as the years go by, we have to now find creative ways as to how we maximize leveraging what we have. So the whole collaborative endeavor is of critical nature to our sustainability, because every year the expectations of our athletes rises. We are happy with their performances. We have to step up our game too. You know, and at the same token, it's not just about what we do for our athletes at Penn Relays. Our total responsibility is the welfare of the athlete. The welfare of the athlete as we help and prepare them to go out and create wealth for themselves and their families, and by extension, the nation.
All right, Chester, I want to bring you in right on the tail end of what Erwin just mentioned. But I want to now skew to stakeholder engagement. Because in this whole business of sport, the college trains, or next branch of professionals in sport. How can GC Foster College, kind of the head of the stream, engage the different stakeholders nationally, the high schools, the schools, to get to that level where we see now Erwin and Team Jamaica Bickle is doing their bit from at Penn Relays?
Well, let me tell you something. Having gone to the Penn Relays for over 20 odd years and seeing how hard the Team Jamaica Bickle has worked to create partnerships. And, you know, one of the difficulties I find is that years ago, through Team Jamaica Bickle, a meeting was organized with various stakeholders at the school level, schools, colleges, that kind of thing. But the sort of agreement that we would need to get to did not take place. And this was probably 10 or so years ago, 10 years or more. And today we are still having the same conversation, because the fact of the matter is, as individual institutions, we tend to be very selfish. So those institutions that are doing well at the time, at the Penn Relays, don't want to have a conversation to say, let's come together with a Team Jamaica Bickle to bargain with the university so that all the Jamaican schools and colleges can benefit as a whole. We find that schools were just thinking about themselves. They want to cut a share of the pie for themselves, and because of that, nothing happened.
I take that point, and I want to now bring in Professor Neville Ying, who of course served as the former director of the Jamaica Diaspora Institute. Professor Ying, your thoughts on stakeholder engagement and what exists or can exist in the diaspora?
Well, I don't want to speak about the diaspora. What I want to speak about is GC Foster as an institution. And what I would like GC Foster to focus on is being a part of the education transformation in Jamaica. Because starting in the fiscal year 2024, there's going to be a massive amount of funding from government for education transformation. And so what GC Foster need to do is to position themselves to be totally aligned with that program so that they can get the required part of that education budget as an institution. And so what I would do if I was GC Foster is to compose something to the Ministry of Education to show that the institution is aligned with some of the features and hot button areas that education transformation is focused on. And what are some of these? The first one is the area of holistic education, which is that education transformation is now interested in the personal and social development of students in schools, as well as their academic performance. And we need to show from GC Foster that our graduates are going to be part and parcel of helping schools to do that. The second thing that education transformation is interested in is STEM, which is the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and also technical vocational education. So how can GC Foster show that what they're doing and the graduates they produce is going to enhance that in the schools? Because that is what is going to lead to GC Foster showing that its graduates can contribute to sports being a part of economic growth and job creation. And so that's where I would like to GC Foster to, not that the other points that you're making about getting, funding from whether it be TV rights or funding from pen relays or whatever. What we need to do is position GC Foster to be a central part of the education transformation in Jamaica. We're talking about some figures a year like $85 billion for that. You want to make sure you get a slice of that. Then you can go back to the things that you're talking about partnerships of different types. So what I want to hear is some more discussion about how we show that GC Foster is part of holistic education, how it can integrate with the curriculum in the schools with respect to STEM and TVET.
Books and co-authored a third, and you've always been about sport. How can we ensure that those who are graduating from GC Foster College and other entities like GC Foster College globally, who are Jamaicans, can tap into this stakeholder engagement to ensure that we derive winning formulas?
Well, the principal will make the announcement in due time, but there's going to be some outreach to the wider United States of America that could impact on how, in the next 6 years, GC Foster really resets its own pace and tone in the marketplace. But what is important, GC Foster represents the best of Jamaica, and it is about the experience. So we have to go back to the table where we start getting students to come to study here at the campus. And when they come here, they not just get the knowledge that using the brand. So everybody wants to know why we run so fast and all of that. People must come here under the guise that they will learn how to run fast. And so part of selling the experience is not just to get the tourist head to a bed, is to get students from the Caribbean, from the United States, from the UK, to come to this institution in Jamaica where they'll eat ackee, saltfish, they'll train with us, walk with us, talk with us, be like Jamaican. Why would I take up my money to go to Harvard? Because I believe Harvard has the best management institute, and I want to be a Harvard girl. People must want to come to Jamaica because they want to be a GC Foster girl or a GC Foster guy and experience the best of Jamaica. And Mr. Wilson and his team must ensure that they eat the best Jamaican food, they wear the best Jamaican clothes, they drink the best Jamaican water. We need to stop thinking about tourism simply as staying in a hotel, whining and dining. This is tourism, this is sports tourism, this is educational tourism. And as a follow-up to what Dr. Ying says, educational transformation is about the experience of a jurisdiction, and there's no better place to start than GC Foster. And you invite Hussein, you invite Asafa, you invite Johan, Shelley, you invite Tapa, Whitmore, you invite them all to come here so people can feel them, touch them, dine with them, run with them. And that is part of the experience. So we need to, the traditional thing's not working, clearly. Right? See the Bob Marley thing? 400 people were employed for 25 days. Paramount has invested millions of dollars to put Bob Marley on the map. That's one element of our lives. Sport is the next big thing, and GC Foster is leading by doing this, and the government of Jamaica and all the influences in society must realize that and provide the necessary incentives so that GC Foster can feel motivated to do more work.
Well, picking up on that point, Carol.
And Carol, you're absolutely correct. Because I remember back, I think was it 2010 when you said run a pen? That year, one of the things we did at Penn Release was that we made sure we had some yams brought up by Caribbean Airlines from Trelawney. And so we have all that spectacle. So we had the yams there, and some Caucasian kids, I guess I can say white kids here in America, came down to the tent because they want to find out what is this yam business all about. They touch the yam, they hug up the yam, they put it on their head, they want to bite it, they take pictures. We all laughed at first. Somebody then went in the back, somebody then asked one of these kids, have you heard of Bob Marley? And said, yeah, One Love and Trenchtown Rock. Some brilliant Jamaica went in the back down there in Pennsylvania. I didn't even know they have Rockstone down there. They find a Rockstone and say, hey, this come from Trenchtown. And the kids grabbed at it. Now, why do I say all of that? I say all that because we truly do not appreciate our brand. We take it for granted. There are people out there who will pay for it. And that is why, as Carol says, we have to move away from the traditional way of doing things. Because even as I look in the audience today, and I hope that in the audience today are those persons with representatives here who consider themselves sponsors. It is not just sufficient to be a sponsor and have your name up there and give her money. You must also be part of what's taking place here in this dynamic, because that's the way you find out new ideas and how we also use an institution at least to take us to the next level. So we can't just be on the bandwagon when it is wearing the lights or when there's Champs or Gibsons or whatever. In order to benefit from the fruit, you must nourish the root. Are you hearing me? In order to benefit from the fruit, we must Nourish the root, which means invest in situations like these. Because, Mr. Chairman and Mr. President, this auditorium, under normal circumstances taking place elsewhere in the world, would be packed to the rafters. I don't know why we here in Jamaica shy away from opportunities like this, but somehow find ways to jump over hoops and go all the way to America and foreign and pay to go into places like these. Whilst we're having it here, rich information, rich opportunities that we take for granted. Come on, Jamaican people, let's change that paradigm.
Well, when how can you do
Principal
all of
Wilson,
that,
and I
Erwin?
said Coach Wilson earlier
what you have
because
to
you're
do is
also
focus on the
technical leader,
infrastructure development.
coach for Jamaica's team. I give you a quick thing. In 2006, at the World Junior Championships, I think that was your first head coach position, and I was covering for the Jamaica Observer at the time. Let's talk about how we go resource and expertise sharing. So here it is that GC Foster College is having this. Can there be partnerships? And I say a couple of high schools in here as well. Partnerships with other local universities who are also having successes. I know sometimes we try to hold on to information, but for the national growth, is that something that can be considered?
Well, first of all, let me just express how amazing it is to listen to great Jamaicans speak of the college. And remind me of the point that you mentioned. We talk about a mindset change. Every single person inside this room is a winner because you have made that calculated decision that you want to add to your knowledge base. And that is why you are sitting here. Erwin spoke about the auditorium being filled. I expected, to some extent, to see more of our sports practitioners here. But it is a culture. Some of them don't think they need to be here, or they think they don't need to be at GC Foster College. Why? They have not recognized that what they're doing is important. They also classify what they're doing as leisure time. Sitting to my left is my former head girl. She was involved in every single sport at college. And she was one of the most brilliant persons in my batch. Further to the left is Mr. Chester McCarthy, head boy at Homer Technical, and Erwin Clear, a scholar out of York Castle. So don't feel as if you're not achieving by being involved in sport. There are great examples here and in the audience. I'm looking at them now. So the first thing you have to do is to have a mindset. When I went to college, I did PE and science. One of my friends told me I had no ambition because I should be doing double option science. Double option science is physics, math, and bio. And when you do double option science, you think that you're the brightest individual. But no, I chose PE and science. You spoke about win-win partnerships. In 1984, Michael Jordan, Nike went to Michael Jordan to have a discussion about developing a footwear. 1984, do the math. Many, many years later, Michael Jordan is the best paid athlete each year, $1.3 billion. I'm saying this to say that a lot of times we try to engage our past students, but for some reason, there's an issue in deciding whether the youngster goes to GC Foster College or goes to another institution. That decision is based off a lack of confidence in terms of what you're doing, not believing in what you're doing. Erwin spoke about other areas, career pathways. We have created that. Sports massage, sports fitness, and more to come. It is incumbent on all the persons in the audience, all the students. Most times persons become great by listening to one single sentence, and they would have changed their course in life. I am telling you now that if you want to create a difference, to create a different pathway in terms of career choice, think about GC Foster College. Think about those areas, not only about STEM education. We have been practicing STEM education for years. Carol Beckford can tell you about that. But those who are in the know, sometimes they really don't listen. They don't listen to those who know. Now you are in the group of the knows and can spread the word to those who need to know.
I want to bring in back Professor Ying, who is chomping at the bit to make a point. Professor Ying?
Yes, what I'm saying is that to do all of the things that you're talking about, you have to first of all build the institution. And that's why I'm going back to how you get the funding for that kind of infrastructure development, being a high performance sports center, being a place where you have a research and development institute for sports, because that is what's going to translate into money. So the question is, how can you build GC Foster as an attractive institution that when people think about all the things you're talking about, they think GC Foster? And that's why I'm saying you're going to need that kind of level of national funding in order to do that and to do all the other things that you're talking about. Because what are institutions built around? They are built around state-of-the-art, both equipment as well as state-of-the-art teaching faculty, as well as research and development institutes. So what I would like to see, I don't know if Maurice, you can say whether you have developed that yet at GC Foster, research and development institutes around sports, because that is what you can monetize as part of your quest for financial self-sufficiency. So there are some building blocks that I think GC Foster need to work on. And that's why I mentioned the points that I did before.
On the resource sharing expertise, and if you want to tap into what Coach Wilson or Professor Ying said.
The Ministry of Education needs to first recognize physical education as an academic work that on the cognitive side speaks to movement, all of the other fancy things that you guys, that I don't remember, that Mrs. Kong would kill me for. So all the movement side of the things, the physical, the psychological, but also as part, as Dr. Ying says, part of a transformative form of life, especially post-pandemic, where wellness, and by wellness determining people are moving around globally, finding suitable locations to live. And if they can get a good education, get good food, and have transportation and the basic needs, satisfy Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and they can live in Jamaica, why not make GC Foster one of those places for young adults? I mean, it sounds very aspirational, but I think, you know, as we look ahead to Vision 2030, something that I would have worked on, and dear God, I want to see some of it work, that since GC Foster is championing the cause for physical education and sport, that it really be given the resources and the necessary incentives to enhance its program to outreach. I mean, we have 36 countries with bilateral agreements, of which 32 is involved in sport. And I mean, I could tell you stories, but the truth is, this place has, in 44 years, has really morphed, but it can do more for the country outside of the traditional stuff. And if educational transformation is the way to go, why not do it in sport, something that we're known for? We're about to go to our 20th Olympic Games. Philippines has gone to everyone during that time and has never won a medal. We have 88 medals in the Olympics, and we're still forming fool about the importance of sport to a nation. So we need the resources. So whether Minister Williams is listening or her advisors, because I know people are online, they need to take serious stock on how academic transformation can be done using sport as a tool for national development.
Let me just
Rayon,
make a
I want
point
to bring
here,
you
Carol,
back in
a
as
moderator.
we
Could I just make a
move
point
into
at
the
this
section
stage?
that we talk about monitoring and evaluating. But I think the point needs to be hammered home even more than Carola said it. Sport is
Yes, Will.
multifaceted. The amount of professions that you can have in sport alone. We heard of sports psychology being a big thing at the previous Olympic Games. Athletes breaking down, having performance coaches, etc. Can we understand that it's not just about those who are on the park running, bowling a ball, hitting the ball? It is so much more that can be in there.
Yeah, the support mechanism for sports far outweighs those who are the participants. Far outweighs and creates more opportunities, in fact. And at this point, I just want to send a shout out, because we had an athlete here in Jamaica that went to Jamaica College, and his father was a coach and all that. He went away to the United States and studied, and today he runs a very successful sports management company, Sekou Clark. And as I look in the audience here, and Sekou jumps out because he's a young man, affable young man, he's an attorney. He's one who is demonstrating success of life after being a participant on the track. All right? Because that is where people will make their money. I have another situation. Professor Crystal McGregor. She never won major tournaments, but sports was her platform. All right? Building out that opportunity. And even as I look here in the audience, Rayon, Kayon, I want to say this. NIL. Those three words, especially to sports persons in here this evening. Do you all know what NIL stands for? Hello? Well, you should be Googling it as I speak. It is name, image, and likeness, because here comes a new dynamic. For you as an individual who are good at your craft in sports, to use yourself as a brand and make money whilst you are in school. Because recent changes in NCAA allows for amateurs at your level to do so. So as we speak here this day, as has been heard before, it's not just about running and throwing and all that situation, but what are the collaterals that comes from your ability as a sports person? Because there are many avenues. Because like I say, it's not everybody is going to win the gold medal. But all those who went down, the 8 persons who are in that block, have an opportunity to use that block opportunity to take themselves to higher heights. And that's where I think the emphasis needs to be shown on. And I think, Carol, we get so spoiled that even when we have we're in the 8 of the fastest finishers in the world in a race, we're not satisfied that we're in the final now. We have to win all the time. But guess what? There are many countries who wish to be there, and we are there consistently. But GC Foster, I believe, though, is on the right path. And if nothing else you hear from today is that we have to find a way to ensure that there's a continuity in ensuring. We heard the chairman spoke today about I calculated it, $1.7 million US to do all your stuff here. That shouldn't be hard. And I'm going to throw something out, and I wish Dr. Creer was here. Every day I hear about a new tourism product here in Jamaica, a new hotel conglomerate. Now we're going to be building 4 28-story buildings in Montego Bay. My question is, that billions of dollars you're spending, you don't think that somehow if my memory serves me correct, one leader once said money dropped out of the bucket. You don't think $2 million can drop out of the bucket and just reach here at GC Foster?
Well, Erwin, the point I'm making
Hello?
is, Erwin,
You don't
and
think so?
Moderator, the
If
point
we're
I'm
building
making
all
is-
those things in Jamaica and all those investors coming in, are we
Erwin,
truly
Erwin,
advocating to
Erwin,
these
Erwin,
investors
Erwin.
coming out about what is important to us? Not to mention the stadium, the office. Come on, guys. We are the Mecca. GC Foster and Jamaica is a Mecca of track and field. We punch way above our weight category than any other country in the world. So we can do better. I'm confident of that. So yeah, the point here is this, is that we're on the right track, but we can't just sit back and say we're on the track. We now have to get moving.
Could I make a point, Moderator?
I want to bring back Professor Ying. Professor Ying?
Yes, what I'm saying is that we need to go back to fundamentals. All that you have said is true, but I don't think you're all focusing on institutional development and institutional marketing. The point is that I sit in various fora. If I go to the National Planning Council, I've never heard of GC Foster. If I go to the private sector meetings, I don't hear of GC Foster. And I sit in a lot of committees that influence infrastructure development and funding. The point is that when I spoke at this forum, was it last year? I am yet to see an institutional development proposal from the institution called GC Foster. You have to convert all these lovely ideas you're getting from these symposia into a document that shows what is the institutional development plan for GC Foster to capitalize on all the things you're talking about. Because if not, you'll be preaching to the converted. All of us here are sports-minded people, but you're not going to get that institutional recognition, because that's where it starts. It's no use to say this athlete, this and that. When you speak about an institution, I think just Carol mentioned about Harvard. Somebody must speak about GC Foster, just like how you speak about Harvard or UWI or whatever. I don't yet see an institutional proposal from GC Foster. And I mentioned this about a year ago. But you have to invest the time in putting it together, because that's going to be your marketing tool, and all the other things you're talking about will fall into place. So if there's one thing to come out of this symposium I would love to see as an output, is an institutional development plan for GC Foster, backed up with a marketing plan to put it on the map. First of all in Jamaica and then overseas.
Principal Wilson, we're preparing for the Olympic Games. What, in a nutshell, does it cost one athlete per month to be prepared and ready? And we're talking about coaches' fee, physiotherapy, all of it.
All right, I'm going to speak to that point, but let me just state that one of the popular sentiments by stakeholders when we speak about GC Foster is that we don't know what is happening. But I can tell you, in the last 14 days, GC Foster would have been in prime media 10 times, more than any other institution. And if you were to track from September until now and look at the ratio in terms of institutions being in the media and what is happening, GC Foster would have populated the media space. So when we hear of not knowing what is happening, you need to market more. With all that is happening on social media, this is something for us to think about. In relation to preparing an athlete, and let us think of a sports person. Let us think of a cricketer who is focusing on becoming a professional cricketer. The basic calculation would be about $190,000 per month. Basic. We're talking about $16,000, 2 sessions for the month for chiropractor. And we're not going to talk about coaching fees, because sometimes that can be waived. But we're talking about massage services, 4-6 times for the month. We're talking about nutrition. We're talking about subsidized housing. So we are speaking to $180,000, $190,000 per month. The Olympics is, 6 months, 7 months away? And it is going to require a detailed preparation. Persons don't understand. Every single time an athlete goes on the track to run, to train, they put themselves at risk. Every single time a competitive long jumper attempts a run-up, they put themselves at risk. When they get injured, thousands of dollars are required. So it requires stakeholder involvement in terms of assistance. The final thing I'd want to say, Erwin, the college requires $400,000 to resurface the track next year. Now, we have tried to reach out to our stakeholders. We're saying the track is available for stakeholder partnership. This track is available for institutions in and around the college community. But there's a discipline to it. There's order to it. And so you must come to the table for engagement. So reaching out, and I'm saying it loud and clear, to the entities out there, the institution requires $400,000 to resurface the track next year. $65 million. In most communities, most counties in America, there are numerous tracks. I'm not making comparison, but we make comparison when we compete at the Olympics. We don't talk about America. They have 300 million persons, and we have 3 million. We speak about who is first and who is second. So we need the resources. Thank you very much.
Erwin, that may be something that you can make some connections on in the diaspora. I know that you focus on Team Jamaica Bickle, but this is what we're talking about, stakeholder partnerships.
I figured that was a setup, actually, Mr. Principal. It goes to a broader situation as we speak about diaspora, engagement. And these are some of the points and some of the opportunities that exist. The question comes about now is, what is this part of a major plan? Because one of the things that people get turned off by is the whole situation is coming hand in glove at the whim and fancy. There has to be a plan in place that demonstrate what are the conditionalities that we expect and what are the long-term plans going forth. I think it's doable. I think it's doable if we see high schools being able to get tracks because of their alma maters and stuff like that. I think that within the diaspora, we do have friends of Jamaica and persons within the diaspora who are influencers and have the necessary connection. But I also want to see a lot more being done by corporate Jamaica and by philanthropic Jamaicans at home, because it has to be a partnership. It cannot just be an expectation of an obligation elsewhere. I think when we start seeing more demonstrative activities like that, it will engender others to become involved. We have to realize that sport is important to us as a nation, not just for its entertainment value, but for its social benefits. And I believe that this is something we have to take serious, and I think in a collective space, we can make it happen.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Erwin Clear, CEO, Team Jamaica Bickle. I want to thank our other panelists, Professor Neville Ying, who was online, Principal Maurice Wilson, GC Foster College, Carol Beckford, sports marketer and consultant, and of course, Mr. Erwin Clear. Chester McCarthy was here as well. He has a lot to do here at the college. The work continues. Hope you